To get rolling this week. Another tough challenge on the road, kind of the second of three in a row here, where we're going to face a tough, talented team. I think Brian's doing a really nice job, and guys are competing. Seems like they're getting healthy, and we better be ready for a physical, tough road game in the NFL and do everything that we need to do to prepare to go try to win a football game against a good team. But open it up to you guys. Yeah, just going off of, what they look like on tape, really good front, a lot of team speed on their defense. I think they play a good scheme, an aggressive scheme, and they really let their, the strengths of their defense, which is a lot, they let those guys do what they do really well. You clearly, some size and impact ability. We saw, Jeffrey Simmons up close and personal at joint practices a couple years ago, and then just seeing some of the pieces they've kind of added around not only him but across the draft with Sweat as a really large, impactful human there in the middle, and then they've got really good edge players. Key and Landry are two of the better combinations that you'll see in the NFL. We've played some really good defenses, and we've had the play style and the things show up that we're going to need to see to consistently move the ball against them, not getting into all, those stats and in the weeds on that. I just know what I see on tape. It's a good defense.
Injury-wise, where are you guys at with the roster?
Yeah, we're doing pretty well from a standpoint of coming off of, offensively 82 plays and I think 71 or 72 the prior week, going on the road, and it was a humid day down there, so I'm sure we'll get our guys out there moving a little bit today and make sure we get our preparation, and we'll pad up tomorrow and have some physical day tomorrow to lead into. I do believe you got to practice for games like this, with the physicality that we're going to see, and that's what you sign up for when you play a team like Tennessee. But health-wise, Aaron's doing well, and I think he's going to be might be a little more limited today, but expecting him to progress as the week goes on. And then one that kind of came about, who will end up being limited today, is Cam Robinson. Just had a little soreness in his foot, but everything checked out, and he'll just work through it. More than likely get some full work in as we go. And outside of that, Cash came back pretty clean, and for the outside of our specialist, having to have Jake and Park show up and clearly have a positive impact on the game. Our team's for the most part healthy. Would love to have CD back, but that's not something we can close our eyes and wish for.
Your turnovers, 6 the last couple of games. What do you point at in regard to why they continue to happen?
Yeah, I think each one kind of tells their own stories, and when you look at first drive against Indy. Kind of a forced playoff schedule, on a third down in the red zone. We had a tip ball trying to get Justin a slant. It was quite a bit of contact there and kind of tight play, and the NFL ball gets tipped up and eventually intercepted. In regards to the red zone turnovers, that's, with the type of movement we're getting on the ball, I think we've had 815-plus yards over the 2 games. Time of possession's been heavily in our favor. We're doing a lot of little things that normally lead to having good chances to win, but clearly the turnovers are keeping these games very close, and relying on other aspects of our team to overcome for that. We need to score points. We need to finish these drives, and finishing drives with points is a winning statistic. You'd love to score touchdowns every single time, but what you can't have is turnovers in the opposing team's end where you're limiting your opportunity to add 3-7, 3-7. Those things add up with the way our defense has played the last couple weeks. So we've got to do a better job collectively as a group. Myself, our staff, and then our players, and clearly Sam, from a decision-making standpoint, just trust what's gotten him here. Which is throwing the ball at a really high level, making really good decisions, using his athleticism when he needs to. But the layer of just managing the game from a standpoint of play call intent, value received on this decision I'm about to make, and the impact it's going to have on our team, especially on some of those weighty downs. where they're, direct impact on what your score line looks like at the end of the day. So it's a critical point. It's going to be a big part of what it's going to take to win this game versus this team because, tough teams like this, you don't want to give them too many opportunities and take away your scoring opportunities in the process. So definitely something we're focusing on this week and every week.
One of the best things that Coach Flores has done week to week to put you guys in the position you are defensively. What are, in your opinion now, being around and the amount of time that you've been around, are the best things that he brings to a program?
Yeah, I think schematically, first and foremost, we now have coordinators and systems in place to really play each game as its own, knowing this league is such a matchup league with how you match up with the opponent. You got to put together plans that, although subtle, and you're still keeping, staying true to what you want to be from a system standpoint, you've got to have the subtle nuances, especially in a defense like ours where it is a quote-unquote check defense, and you want to make sure that those parameters are in place to allow our guys to have the advantage when they can, but yet still play fast. And I think that's what has been awesome is this defense in this world we're living in where he does empower the players. He does, when we've got our full group out there, there's a lot of high-level football going on above the neck, and then the ball gets snapped, and there's high-level football tackling, fundamentals of stopping the run, forcing people into longer third down situations where we can marry up that coverage and rush. That's all driven by flow and the players' ownership of what we're doing. And just being around them, now for a significant period of time, I love getting to, do football with him every single week. We have a lot of conversations as we piece together game plans, even him asking me, questions about, what I see in the other opposing offense, or me asking him about what he sees in the opposing defense and maybe his history with some players that, on the other side of the ball or vice versa. So there's it's one of my favorite parts of the job is just spending that time with him, and the dialogue we have has made me a better coach, and I think he's been a great version of himself that we brought here to Minnesota and what I expected, and he's been fantastic for us.
Kevin, what did your scout share with you about Wilma when she came back from that designer camp, or his combine?
Yeah, I don't get a lot of the minute-to-minute updates on some of those camps, but I do remember reading the report of just the, kind of similar in a lot of ways to what it sounded like when I first heard about Will. The way the ball sounds coming off his foot, powerful leg, maybe doesn't present that way always, and I think Will would probably qualify as that as well from a physical standpoint. But when they go to do their jobs, it's an impressive thing to watch the ball come off their feet. And then what I would say is that I remember vividly the first time in the off-season program, right around the time we drafted Will and we could get on the field. Will wasn't here yet. But Park was banging field goals, in between the O&D sessions in phase 2, and he hit one from like 58, 59 yards, and I was probably standing a little too close, and the competitive look on his face basically saying, I know you saw that, now get out of the way type of thing. I remember just feeling like he had a great edge to him, but in a good way, and thought it would be a great competition with him and Will, which it was. And as I told him when he left this building, I don't think – this is certainly not your last time kicking in the NFL because you're, in my opinion, well above the line from a standpoint of kicking, but also, I hope it's not your last time in this building. When we bring you back, I know you'll be ready to go, and that's exactly what he was. So full circle to giving him a game ball after making 4 big kicks for us when we needed them.
Were you standing there purposely to doing your head coach thing?
It may have been, it may have been something I thought about, but no, that's not normally how I particularly operate. But it also could have just be half the time. It's like, Happy Gilmore when the caddy's supposed to him stay out of the way, and he does not do that. So half the time it's like that, especially when those times when I'm trying to let coaches coach, and I tend to talk too much when I try to help coach individual drills and things, so I'm trying to stay out of the way for the most part. But I guess he didn't like where I was, and his look said it said everything I needed to hear from him.
How does that impact
Yeah, I think there's 2 layers to it, right? You've got like this athletic, kind of explosive athlete, run and hit kind of linebacker, but then there's instincts in the pass game. He always seems to be, when he is an underneath cover player. He's always seems to be in the windows and just kind of making things murky for the quarterback. And even on Cam's pick late in the game the other day, he's involved in a game up front with Grenard on the right side there, and just the explosiveness. I showed it to the team a little bit ago. Just on the TV copy, just taking in the explosiveness of and just the efficiency of the way the two of those guys work together. Essentially Blake ricocheting free, and then J.J. ended up one-on-one on the back. The way it worked out, really good, just scheme, but also these explosive players and showing that play style. And that's all it really is how fast can you play yet still be under control and be where you're supposed to be when you need to be there, and then violently show up at the tackle points, make the plays when they're there to be made. That's everything Cash has been, and we, like you said, we haven't even talked about him from a communication standpoint as the green dot, and just how smooth everything felt, the other day. They weren't on the field a lot, but the 42 snaps they were out there, there was great dialogue, communication from Flo to Cash to the huddle, and it was really good to see.
Do you have any concerns about J.J. losing any ground during his rehab after this procedure?
Yeah, no, I do not. We know he had the extensive, what I would consider an extensive injury in training camp. He's really knocked it out of the park every step of the way, and as his kind of rehab has picked up, we noticed a little swelling in there, and just with the time that we do have, he's been doing everything we asked of him and improving, getting stronger, all those things. But we just wanted to make sure that there was no cause for concern, and all reports were very positive. He's on the original timeline in good shape, and I've just enjoyed as his rehab's progressed. He can be in meetings and spend a little bit more time with us, and it's been some real growth for him. Continues to ask great questions every day, and we'll just continue to that's the hardest part, when you get the ability to do a little bit more and start pushing through those final stages over these next few weeks. Feel really good about where he's at.
Last couple.
In the Patriots championship run, they kind of established a double tight end attack offensively.
Yeah.
Do you try to work with some of the mindset of that?
I think the two tight ends on the field gives you a lot of ability to be really multiple, especially when you've got two guys like Justin and Jordan outside. And there's no rules on how you deploy that group, who lines up where. You can really make defenses really ask themselves the question of how do we want to match this grouping, and how do we want to defend this grouping? Because if you stay in the bigger groupings to try to make sure you're sound against the run, you might be leaving yourself, especially like we saw last Sunday, a lot of opportunities to run the ball consistently showed up because of the pretty exclusive shell coverage and double team Justin plan we got. It offered kind of a little bit more of a grinded out game, but still 82 plays and over 400 yards of offense, because that was the decision that they made based upon the presentation of some of the things just personnel-wise that were out there. If you go the other route and you say we're going to stay in the nickel world, have those 5 DBs on the field for coverage reasons and or structure of the defense reasons, then you've got to, you're leaving yourself susceptible to the run game as well, but in a different way, just because of now the way the line of scrimmage is being defended. You probably are requiring yourself to pair that with more pressure, and when that happens, that's where we've done a pretty good job of being ready for those 1 or 2 or 3 moments in a game where Justin's going to get singled and hopefully make a play.
Kevin, how much of what you're seeing from Byron Murphy is kind of what you guys did when you guys first signed him?
Yeah, I had pretty 2 years of experience against Murph in the NFC West, so I was well aware of what we were bringing here, and then once we were able to solidify everything with Flo and really build on the defense year over year, Murph gets to, especially with Steph and Shaq here, Murph really gets to be in that location where I think he's so incredibly impactful. We've got some good nickel inside players in this league right now, different varieties and types, whether they're safety types that are, dropping down there as that 5th DB, or true nickels like Murph, where he's got the corner skill set. He's a willing and able tackler, great instincts, great ball skills. And then if he's got a, on those early downs when it's him and Steph outside, those guys are playing really, really well right now. And I think it all ties in with a guy like Murph, making sure you've got the front that you need from a standpoint of not only guys like J.J. and Gink and DT and Pat Jones, but also that interior, being able to stop the run and get to those D&Ds where we can really get creative with our coverage and rush and pressure looks, drop-out looks. And Murph is just the perfect kind of catalyst for all that. When you think about our safeties and him working the middle of the field, it's been a real positive. Great question, though.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.